A middle school is an educational stage which exists in some countries, providing education between primary school and secondary school. The concept, regulation and classification of middle schools, as well as the ages covered, vary between, and sometimes within, countries. In Afghanistan, middle school consists of the primary school grades 5, 6, and 7 and the secondary school grade 9. In Albania, middle school is included in primary education which lasts 9 years and attendance is mandatory. In Algeria, a middle school includes 4 grades, 6, 7, 8, and 9, consisting of students from ages 11 to 15. The Ciclar Básico of secondary education is roughly equivalent to middle school. No regions of Australia have segregated middle schools, as students go directly from primary school to secondary school. As an alternative to the middle school model, some secondary schools classify their grades as middle school. Some have 3 levels. Junior. Some schools run a specialized Year 9 program segregated from the other secondary year levels. In 1996 and 1997, a national conference met to develop what became known as the National Middle Schooling Project, which aimed to develop a common Australian view of the first middle school established in Australia. Was the Armadale School, in Armadale SSW of Brisbane and approximately 140 kilometers due west of Coffs Harbour on the coast. Other schools have since followed this trend. The Northern Territory has introduced a 3-tier system featuring middle schools for years 7 to 9 and high school year 10 to 12. Many schools across Queensland have introduced a middle school tier within their schools. The middle schools cover years 5 to 8. In Bangladesh, middle school is not separated as in other countries. Generally, schools are from class 1 to class 10. It means lower primary, while 11 to 12 is called college. Middle schools in Bolivia have been abolished since 1994. Students aged 11 to 15 attend the last years of elementary education or the first years of secondary education. In Bosnia and Herzegovina, middle school refers to educational institutions for ages between 14 and 18 and lasts 3 to 4 years. Following elementary school, gymnasiums are the most prestigious type of middle school. In Brazil, middle school is a mandatory stage that precedes high school called Ensino Fundamental 2, consisting of grades 6 to 9, ages 11 to 14. In Canada, the terms middle school and junior high school are both used, depending on which grades the school caters to. Junior high schools tend to include only grades 7, 8, and sometimes 9. Whereas middle schools are usually grades 6 to 8 or only grades 7 to 8 or 6 to 7, varying from area to area and also according to population vs. building capacity. Another common model is grades 5 to 8. Alberta, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, and Prince Edward Island junior high schools typically include grades 7 to 9, with the first year of high school traditionally being grade 10. In some places students go from elementary school to secondary school, meaning the elementary school covers to the end of grade 8. In Ontario, the term middle school and senior public school, but are still called elementary or public schools with no recognition of the grades they serve in their name. Quebec uses a grade system that is different from those of the other provinces. In Quebec, there is no middle school section. The secondary level has 5 grades starting after elementary grade 6. These are called secondary I to secondary V. Chile does not have middle schools. They instead have Educación Básica that teaches basic education like elementary school, and Educación Media, which is middle education like middle school or high school. Educación Básica is from 1st grade to 6th grade, and Educación Media from 7th grade to 12th grade. Communities do not consider the 7th and 8th grades being part of Educación Media despite the government rendering it. Communities treat the grades as middle school. In the People's Republic of China, secondary school, some places are grades 6 to 9. The junior stage education, equivalent to a U.S. middle school, is the last 3 years of 9-year compulsory education for all young citizens, while the senior stage education is optional but considered as critical preparation for college. Education. Some middle schools have both stages while some have either of them. The admissions for most students to enroll in upper secondary schools from the junior stage are on the basis of the scores that they get in senior middle school entrance exam, which are held by local governments. Other students may bypass the exam based on their distinctive talents, like athletics or excellent daily performance in junior stage. Secondary education is divided into basic secondary and mid-secondary. The students in basic secondary, roughly equivalent to middle school, are 11 or 12 to 15 or 16 years old. In Croatia, middle school refers to educational institutions for ages between 14 and 18 and lasts 3 to 5